up, buddy? My APA family? It's your boy LAPA coming through with another video. This is a perfect example, especially as to why I started my channel for the youngsters out there. Stories of caution for the youngsters and for reoffenders, right? And as you can tell by the good old caption that we have the thumbnail, Tory Lanez, Tory Lanez, Tehachapi, Tehachapi, Tory Lanez, Tehachapi. Yes. So I the day that it happened, I think I learned like maybe about an hour after it was first broken by like a major news network, came to my phone and breaking news, Tory Lanez gets stabbed. I was at work, sure enough, I knew that everybody and their mama was gonna do a video on it, which is cool. I mean, shit, cool. I mean, it's to be expected, right? Um, but to me, I read the breaking news, and to me, it's like, you know what? I feel like this is one of those that I need to step back and just wait to get all the details before I do a video. And yes, maybe by that time it'll be old news and whatnot. But apparently with this, it's a celebrity. It's never old news right away because there's going to be things that people don't know that's going to keep breaking and breaking and breaking news, right? And that's what's been happening. So now that I have a good understanding, a decent understanding. I can't say that I know it all, but I know what's out there, and that's what I'm going to speak on. Mostly because I've been in the shoe of Tehachapi as well, and the history of that prison, it's not Tehachapi State Prison like some dudes have said. It's CC1, California Correctional Institution at Tehachapi. Um, so yeah, Tehachapi, man. If you go by the history, man, they opened up in the late '80s. Um, it was an alternative uh, before they had PC yards and things like that. I know the history because I had OGs when I was doing time and things like that. They laced me up on it and everything, and then it evolved. Tehachapi evolved. Um, so yeah, they were sending a bunch of people over there um, before they created the SNY status, and they had to put them somewhere, right? And they put them in other places too. But I guess Tehachapi was like the prison where they were putting them at and setting dudes up, just like they were setting a lot of Sureños up, going to Pleasant Valley with the Bulldogs when they were green lighted, um, etc. Just like they're doing right now with actives on 50-50 yards, or not even 50-50 yards, non designated yards. I know there's a certain clown on YouTube that keeps professing that he was only on a 50-50 yard, if that's not the case. But anywho, that's neither here nor there. So eventually Tehachapi evolved and was a prison that flipped so many different times. But they started it up as the first 180 design. Um, and I've been to a few cities at Kern Valley and New Corcoran. And Tehachapi is a 180, but it's the first 180. It's a whole different design. So the crazy part is that I wasn't there on the main line. I was there when they had already made it a shoe, and it wasn't a shoe briefly. It was not a shoe briefly. It was a shoe for years. Um, so the yard, if you go on to the yard, they got a big ass patio, concrete, everything. When you go down, it's like a big old cement yard, basketball court, and then you go down. It's weird to explain. I think the patio on the top, you go down, you walk down, you go into the law library and everything. Because I used to go to the law library when I was in the shoe. The pods, like the buildings, you go in there, it's like a little narrow corridor, and then you go to the left, and then you go to the middle, and then you go to the other side, A, B, and C. And when you go into the actual buildings, um, I know that the 180s the new 180s were designed so that the CO from the tower could look into every single cell, every single aspect of everybody's life. And even then, like the corner cells of each pot on the newer 180, you really can't see unless you see the shadow of somebody fighting, whatever. But the rest of the cells in the middle and in between, you could see. And they did that because of the blind spots, you know. Um, but even in Kern Valley, there's certain blind spots as long as the tower is not watching. Anywho, they could never perfect it, you know. And if indeed, from what I heard, that they were trying to prevent blind spots from happening uh, in Tehachapi, the 180, the first 180, I don't know. I feel like that's a little far fetched. I feel like it's a little inaccurate because CDC is not stupid. You know, I feel like they created that yard, the first 180, not necessarily to eliminate blind spots, but to house the worst of the worst. You know, that were being kept in the older prisons like Folsom, Soledad, and St. Quinn and whatnot. And you know, that's a cesspool of blind spots. Literally, by definition, you go to San Quentin, any of those old ass prisons, you can't look inside cells. You know, and as a result, over the decades, a lot of individuals got killed. Um, so I felt like the original reason was that they made Tehachapi the first 180 is to minimize the number of inmates, convicts, whatnot, and not necessarily for blind spots, because you would have to be a stupid ass administration official for you to feel and think that Tehachapi, the 180, was meant for no blind spots. That's ridiculous, you know. So that leads me to believe that that was just rumor on the yard and whatnot. So anywho, when you walk in there, so you walk in there, you have one side and the other side, and these cells are facing a wall. The tower on top can't even look into the cells. You know what I'm saying? And then when you walk into the left is a shower, depending on the section that you go into. And to me, it's just like we're looking at when I was there, you're looking at a wall, you know. And to me, Tehachapi 180 is like a cave when you go into those and the lower tier, like it's like a little cave, upper tier, lower tier. It's just to me, it's like it's a trippy setup. Like I said, on the yard, when I was there, it was a shoe. By that time, it had evolved. Now, I remember before it was a shoe. I was in the prison system before they made it a shoe, whatnot. And there was them placas over there had been setting dudes up, shooting dudes, killing homies with the Mini 14. You had straight killers, CO killers, um, targeting homies with the Mini 14 and shooting dudes. When I was in New Corcoran, I remember my Carnala was there in the shoe at the time, and only part of it was a shoe. But it got to a point where some of the homies said enough and it's enough, and they rushed. They stabbed the shit out of the lieutenant and I think a sergeant too. I don't know if they stabbed the sergeant, but they're involved. And I know this because my Celly from Florencia came from over there. And you know, when you're in the system around that time, you're hearing this. You're hearing this, and you know, everything's through the grapevine, and you're gonna hear it eventually. So my point is that Tehachapi has gone through an evolution of changes as far as status, depending on what year you were there. I mean, let alone from the late '80s to to when I was there. You know, like it really just depends on what year you're alluding to, what you're talking about. Now, I have a homie there. He's not active, you know. Um, that I'm waiting for him to get at me. Not about the Tory Lanez things or whatnot, but I talk to him from time to time. But he has a whole life. He's doing good. He's going to programs and great things. And he's actually there. And I don't know if he was on the yard where this happened or not, but I do know that recently, I mean, as far as I understand, there's no GPs over there. And that stopped. I was one of the like I said, I was one of the last buses that left the shoe there when I went to Kern Valley because they closed it down. They kicked everybody out after the Asker lawsuit settlement, after the hunger strikes that I went through as well. And they made Tehachapi. SNY. So yeah, I mean, let's get into what happened. Tory Lanez. Tory Lanez, a singer, a singer that got caught up um, in a shooting. He shot Megan Thee Stallion and whatnot. I'm pretty sure everybody knows about that. But you know what? As a matter of fact, um, all this is speculation and things like that as far as what I'm about to say. But I want to read something that I have not heard on YouTube yet. Tory Lanez claims Kelly Harris' bodyguard, Bradley James, has come forward. Allegedly says she, not Tory, was the one who shot Megan. So that'll be some crazy stuff, right? Like to me, it's just like, he's already convicted. Let's just say he didn't do it, right? Which I feel like, it's a love triangle. What happened with her, Kelsey, Tory Lanez, and Megan Thee Stallion at Kylie Jenner's house, all that stuff, right? And I had to actually go in to actually refresh my mind because I actually have a female in my life that actually told me this. My wife, being my wife, um, back when it was happening, and I wasn't interested in the trial or anything like that. Have I heard some Tory Lane songs or features, whatnot? Yeah, but I honestly didn't care. Like as far as listening to the music, good for him. Went through the trial, whatnot, and fact of the matter is that there's people coming forward saying right now that he didn't shoot her. It was a struggle, and which we could get into all that, but we're not. The point is that the dude went to prison for shooting somebody allegedly, even though he's convicted. I don't feel like that's the complete truth, but it is what it is. Um, Now he could have went to the main line. He could have went to the main line, and I feel like he would have been safer on the main line. Real shit. And I don't say this to glorify the SNY side or not. I say this because, as a matter of fact, meaning like literally a matter of fact, the SNY side, bro, like there's there's structure depending on where you are. There's structure depending on where you go, and the gangs are the ones that run things over there, and they will kill you just like dudes on a GP will kill you. Unfortunately, now this dude Santino, Casio, whatever his name is, um, this dude apparently at first we were hearing words like, "Oh, he got stabbed in a riot between Mexicans and blacks." That's the crazy part. That's why I didn't do a video or jump to conclusions because to me it's like, "Oh shit, okay, I'm gonna wait." But the first thing I heard was that it was a riot between blacks and Mexicans, and to me it's like, I don't know about that. If anything, I think Tory Lanez is on the SNY side because he's a celebrity. But I'm surprised that he hit even the SNY Yard, the main line on the SNY. But he did. Apparently, he did. And the dude that I just alluded to that stabbed him, apparently, I just recently heard. I don't know how true it is or not. That it has something to do with um, somebody, him being jealous and visit. They both had visits, and he thought Tory Lanez was getting at his girl. His girl was trying to get Tory Lanez's attention and whatnot. I don't know how true that is. You know what I'm saying? Allegedly, speculating. Um, just like other dudes that put out speculations out there and shit like that. That's the newest speculation, and that's what led that dude to stab the shit out of him. Now, um, the dude that stabbed him, um, apparently that dude he's in prison for killing a 13-year-old girl. They're saying that it was his girlfriend. Now this dude got busted in 2004. The dude is 42 years old. In 2004, if you're 42 years old right now, and in 2004, what? How old were you? 22? Like so. To me, it's just like, damn, it's fucking crazy. So apparently that dude was already already pretty much a pedophile. messing with a 13-year-old girl. And if indeed it's true, allegedly, I'm not saying that because I defend him or nothing. If that's what happened and that's what he got convicted for, and everything's true, which I have no reason to believe it's not. Prove me right. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, that dude stabbed Tory Lanez, and people are not only saying that he's SNY because he is, they both are, but they're focusing on that aspect of him, and rightfully so because he's a piece of shit. He's a piece of shit. But that just comes to show, like I was saying earlier, like I said, I felt like Tory Lanez would have been safer on the main line, on the GP main line, because on the other side, bro, just because a dude is a weirdo and a pedophile, but if he was a gang member, look at his charges, bro. Aside from that, like that, and furthermore, a profile, a record of violence, of stabbing dudes and all that. Some of that probably started on the main line, but I doubt it because of the charges. So this dude has been on the side probably the majority of his term, if not all his term, and he's more than likely a gang member. What gang is he from? I don't know. But if he wasn't part of a gang, that would have been done probably. I would feel like a long time ago. But that just comes to show that dudes on the other side ain't playing. You know, um, they are who they are in our eyes. As far as like that was a piece of shit to me. That's a real SNY, a real PC to me. A dude that messes with a 13-year-old girl when he's over age and then he kills her. That's a real scumbag to me. Period. Period. But to put a jacket on everybody that's been on the SNY side, that like all the snitches and rapists and all that go through that side, yes. But there's homies like us. I know hundreds of motherfuckers, if not thousands, that go on the side and they take it upon themselves to start cleaning up those yards. At least, not because they're part of gangs, because the gangs do that themselves. Um, but the homies that ain't part of gangs on the other side, and I've been only to one yard, one prison in Kern Valley, the 180 level 4D yard. And that yard was clean, clean. And I know some actors gonna be like, "How is that yard clean when there's some wise over there?" When I say clean, all the chomos, child molesters, rapists, all that shit, anybody was getting taken off the yard. What I did was go into a cell, and youngsters, like I said, please don't take this as I'm glorifying it, reoffenders as well. But I had to do what I had to do because I don't believe in the lifestyle anymore, but I was not gonna live with I was not gonna live with a scumbag. Period. So I got in there, put on my paperwork, boom, this is my paperwork. Let me see yours. And thankfully I didn't have a fucking one of them weirdos as my celly. Um, but it's just once you go to the side, it's like it is what you make it. You could kill anybody or do what you want without fearing the consequences of the organization members. You know, it's liberating at times, but it's also as dangerous as it can get because it don't matter if you're a celebrity like Tory Lanez or anybody. It doesn't matter who you are. On that side, you're less safe because who's gonna tell the dude that's free, that's not part of an organization, that's man, he can do whatever the hell he wants to you as long as he's willing to fight you and stab you. Um, Nobody's able to stop him. Period. Because everybody is their own man. I know it's a contradiction when it comes to the active mentality. Like, how can you be your own man? But it is. On the active side, the GP, you cannot make a move. And I'm not saying it to disrespect him. This is just a matter of fact. You cannot make a move and go at go at it or stab somebody that you don't like or fight somebody that you don't like just because you have a personal issue or not. You can't do that. On the other side, you can do that shit. Ain't nobody gonna tell you shit. Period. So to me, it's just like, damn, that's why I feel like that shit's more dangerous because there's no consequences, and dudes know there's no consequences. The only consequences for them is that they're going to do a shoot term or catch more time. But if you're a lifer, you ain't got nothing to lose. What the fuck is going to stop you? Like I said, I've seen dudes on the other side literally slice dudes' throats just because they got tired of being on that yard and they wanted to get transferred and they wanted a new scenery. They've done shoe terms, been in the hole, all that. That's nothing. You could have TVs in the hole now in the shoe. So that's nothing. I think most dudes that have done level 4, 180 time, shoe time, are more comfortable in the cell than they are being free. To this day, I suffer from that. I don't even go out. you know, I'm more comfortable in a closed area um, than I am in crowds. That shit takes its toll. It takes its toll, you know. But like I said, man, a bunch of dudes have done this a video on Tory Lanez and things like that. Tehachapi is a prison that when I was there, like I said, I was in the shoe. Um, but the whole configuration, the whole setup of Tehachapi is so different. It's technically a 180, but it's completely different from all the other 180s. Completely different. It's the first one. Um, but yeah, and I was gonna make a video as far when I was there in the shoe because a certain individual alluded to that. Oh, you never. When I got to Tehachapi, I came from Cork and Shoe. I got to Cork and Shoe around the time they were closing all the shoes down. So they transferred me to Cork and Shoe to 4B and Tehachapi. And like I said, I was one of the last buses. And I want to do a video as far as the fishing process. They had all the cages, the dog kennels on the concrete yard, not the shoe yard, because every 180 on the side has a little shoe yard. It's a little mini concrete yard. Um, but this was actually the recreational yard where they had all the dog kennels, all the cages, and the fishing process and all that. I'll do a video on it, and I'll let you know as far as when I was assisting, when they left me the block to assist and all that. And I'll get to that on my next on one of my future videos. But I wanted to do this video just because it's a topic of conversation right now, and you know even though somebody came forward and said that Tory Lanez was not the shooter, unfortunately, it doesn't matter. By the time this dude, let's just say he does get exonerated, or they try to exonerate him, they're not gonna believe that person. Shit. People have came forward with DNA, and even that takes years before people are exonerated. I mean, meaning like found not guilty. You know. But anywho, we'll see what happens, man. The dude got stabbed 14 times. They said that he had two collapsed lungs. I've had a collapsed lung. I had a tube in my chest, draining my blood and all that. Two collapsed lungs, and you can still talk. Mm, they got him there in time. They probably put him in a stretcher with a little suction bag, and they kept him from internal bleeding because internal bleeding made me flatline. But that being said, you guys be good. Hit me up in the comments if you got any questions. Appreciate you guys tapping in, and I'll see you on the next one. Shout out to all my members. Shout out to all my subscribers.